What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Primetime Sports Podcast, hosted by Joey Mailari. So tonight is the college football playoff final. It is Georgia, the number 1 team in the country, versus TCU, the number 3 team in the country, at 7:30 on ESPN at SoFi Stadium. Georgia's currently favored by 13.5 points in this game. Obviously, very good year, 14-0 record. I'm going to do a quick preview of this game with the sports guru, Mike Hurley. Going to have him on in just a second, so hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you guys for listening. Here he is, the sports guru, Mike Hurley, returning back to the pod. How we doing, Mike?
Good. Great night for football.
He's a big Georgia guy, so this is a huge night for you. You've been a big Georgia guy now for the past 3, 4, 5 years now, so it's obviously a big night for college football and you. How do you feel about this game tonight? Obviously, Georgia, 13.5 point favorites.
Tough to pick a favorite in the game because I think I told you earlier in the year that Max Duggan should have been the Heisman Trophy winner. So
yeah, you were a big Duggan guy.
He's proved it. He punched his way in the playoffs.
Yeah,
another win.
Played great in that game. I mean, he was 14-20 in passing, but 4 touchdowns in that game versus Michigan. Also, 57 yards on the ground, 225 in the air. I mean, he had a very good game. 4 touchdowns is very impressive against that Michigan defense.
Yeah, Michigan was touted as the second-best defense to Georgia, so now he's got to go against top dogs.
Michigan only gave up 27 points, the most they gave up in a single game this year. Before the game, they gave up 51 to TCU, which is nuts.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of defensive scores, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there were a couple pick sixes. Bud Clark, safety, absolute beast, made a pick six of J.J. McCarthy. But how do you feel about TCU in this game? I know they're underdogs, obviously, but you do like the way they play. Obviously, play gritty. Were long shots for the year. You think they stick within that 13.5 points? You think it's going to be a blowout and be over that? Or?
I think they do, but I do think that Georgia wins. I think Georgia, they just barely snuck by. So sometimes if a team catches a big break, a top team like that, they can go ahead and take care of business next game. I just think they have more. They just got more NFL talent on the field.
Georgia's stacked.
Sometimes you need a little scare. I think last year they probably could have gone undefeated all the way, but they let their foot off the gas against Alabama in the SEC championship game.
Got their revenge, but yeah, they did.
And then they smoked them in the championship.
I see. That was one game. That championship game last year, I thought Bama was going to win, but beating a team twice in the same year, especially like that, is hard to do. So I was against Georgia last year. I didn't think they were going to beat Bama. I thought Bama was the better team, even though Georgia was stacked. Bama, I just never really bet against when they're in those big games. I know you're not.
Love to bet against Bama.
Yeah, you're not a big Bama fan,
baby.
I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but I do like a lot of their players all the time. I was a big Calvin Ridley fan. You liked Najee back in the day.
Najee. I still like Najee.
Calvin Ridley's a beast. Jalen Waddle was my boy. Your boy, too.
Patriots get a lot of guys off both teams. We got Dame Harris. We got Mac Jones.
The defensive lineman, too. The defensive tackle, Barmore. Christian Barmore was a Bama guy.
Yeah. I liked him. I wanted him to be I thought they would pick him. I thought they'd pick him.
He's a steal in the second round. Still in the second round.
We got Andrews, the centers from Georgia. We got Isaiah Wynn, who's not good. Georgia.
Sony Michel was a Georgia guy.
Yeah. Some other guy.
Damian Harris was a Bama guy.
Yeah,
Mac Jones, your boy. But yeah, there's a lot on the Patriots there. I mean, the Giants obviously have a fair share of Georgia guys as well.
They're all over the NFL. How many teams you got them?
Yeah, no, there's a ton. Andrew Thomas on the Giants. Then obviously you look at Evan Neal, too. Alabama, of course. Landon Collins was a Bama guy. Xavier McKinney, a Bama guy. So Giants and Patriots both find themselves drafting a lot of those guys in the draft. But a lot of stars in the NFL today are Bama guys or Georgia guys. So there'll be a lot in this game for Georgia. I'm sure going to make the league and obviously tear it up. Jalen Carter, that's one of them. That
one of the best running backs ever at TCU. LaDainian Tomlinson.
Yeah, that was your boy. You were the biggest fan of him.
Record for a single season.
LT. The real LT is Lawrence Taylor, but it's all good. Lawrence Taylor's a real LT. But they're both beasts. But so in this game, TCU obviously a long shot. But I mean, they were long shots before the season started. They were 200-1. That was their odds to make the college football playoff and win it. And now if they were to win this, they'd be the biggest long shot in history, in the college football playoff history, to win the national championship. They were 200-1 odds before the season began to win it. And they find themselves here in this game, obviously in a big chance and a big, obviously, showdown. I mean, Georgia obviously wants to win, but TCU just being underdogs, I feel like the underdog always gets a little bit more of an edge just being an underdog.
A little push. They've been probably underdogs in all the big games they've played.
Yeah, for sure.
They've won a lot of tight games. And I think you're at the biggest stage now, so I expect them to cover that.
Yeah.
Almost 2 touchdowns.
That's a lot.
I still think Georgia wins, but TCU played pretty tough, even on the line of scrimmage against Michigan. So
yeah,
Michigan's got a good O-line, good D-line.
They're good all
They
around.
said Michigan has the best O-line in the country, probably.
Yeah, no, they're good. They're good. That's why they run the ball so well.
They got to the quarterback.
Yeah, Corum was a beast. He's going back actually for his senior year.
He didn't play in the game though, right?
No, he was hurt.
The other kid.
He was hurt a couple, 3 games now, and then he'll be back though.
They kind of bottled up the run game aside from the first play of the game for Michigan.
Yeah, they did. No, they played well.
Run.
They played well against that D line. Or the D line played well against Michigan's O line.
Michigan didn't turn the ball over a lot until that game.
No, they didn't. They got pick 6 right away. Bud Clark got that big pick 6 for TCU, the defensive backfield, which was huge. But in that game, though, one thing that helped TCU is that they got out right away to a lead. They were up 21-6 at halftime. They had all the momentum right from the beginning. In this game tonight, do you see any chance with them getting out, to a lead 7-0, 10-0?
I mean, Georgia started really slow. They were down
38-24 in the third quarter.
They were down pretty big, yeah.
2 touchdowns in the third quarter, and then Bennett threw 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns. Came up big when it mattered most. But
play of the game. What was it? What was the play of the game?
Let me think. I don't know.
The timeout. The timeout by Kirby on the fake.
Oh, yes, you're right. That was it. I thought you were going to say Stetson Bennett's last touchdown.
4th-and-1 fake punt.
I thought you were going to say Stetson Bennett's second to last touchdown, which was a dime. But I didn't think of that one.
The missile, the 76-yard.
Yeah.
Well, that came right after the punt. The fake punt.
Yeah.
So they sniff out the fake punt with the timeout. Then they get the ball back as, what's called Ohio State ends up punting it, and then they come down the field with that.
Smart. Play, there's a lot of room. There was a lot of room, but that was a great throw.
The DB fell.
Yeah, there was great throw regardless. He aired it out. Probably 45 yards. Probably 45 yards, and he ran, for 30 after the catch?
Yeah, it was probably like a 40-yard pass, 30-yard.
Yeah, it was a nice play.
It was a 76-yard bomb. So
it worked out, though. I thought you were going to say that was the play of the game, but I guess the timeout.
Yeah, I mean, both the quarterbacks, the good thing is they're likable guys. They're not like top recruits. It's not Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, who's the other guy?
Caleb Williams is a big recruit.
Williams, yeah. So you get to see some,
underdogs.
Some underdog players. I think they'll end up on NFL teams next year, probably.
That's the thing, though. If you look at it with Stetson Bennett,
maybe even undrafted.
I was saying for Stetson Bennett, they say he has a great eye for the game, so maybe he ends up being a coach one day. I mean, he'll probably try to obviously play, but
you could toss him in as a third-string QB.
Probably, yeah. He'd probably be.
He's played in the big games. Sure. I mean, imagine if he wins another national championship, or back-to-back national champion.
Hey, it's possible.
Tough not to take a flyer on a guy.
I mean, he'll definitely be in a training camp roster. That's all you need. Yeah, for sure. Someone take a flyer. Once you get a training camp roster, anything can happen. They'll see how you're throwing in person.
I mean, Hoyer's probably not coming back. I'll take him on the path.
Yeah, why not, right? Why not? He played very well, though, in that.
Zappy.
Yeah, him and Zappy. You're a big Zappy guy. But Bennett played very well, though, in that game. 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns in that game, and then also threw for 398 and 3 touchdowns. Also ran for a touchdown, so 4 total touchdowns for both.
Yeah, he's got some good luck. They both scrambled, these guys. 4
touchdowns apiece in their respective semifinals games, which is huge. And then obviously for Georgia, their offense is great, 39 a game. They're averaging, which is 8th in the country, but their defense averaging just 14.8 points per game allowed, which is 5th in all of college football, which is nuts. Yeah. What do you think is going to be the edge for Georgia? Is it going to be their offense or their defense? Or is it collective? I mean, I know it's obviously collective. Both obviously have to play well to win. But what would you fear more if you're TCU? Georgia's defense or offense? Probably their defense, right?
The defense, probably, because I think they're good against the run. Like, Ohio State pretty much abandoned the run game.
C.J. Stroud threw for like 345 or whatever. Yeah, he was just airing it out.
Yeah. And that was the old way to beat Alabama, was you could only beat them if you had, like, Trevor Lawrence, for instance, who could chuck it all over the field. Because a college team that's so dominant on defense is used to just dominating the line of scrimmage, getting tons of run stuff, sacks, fumbles. So if you can actually throw the ball downfield, the defense is light. There's lots of open space. So it's really the only chance you have to keep up in the game. I think there's a pretty decent senior receiver on TCU.
Yeah,
had a good game.
Quentin Johnston. He's a beast. Six catches for 163 and a touchdown versus Michigan, which was huge. He's their number one receiver. 6'4". He's a big receiver. 6'4". 6'4".
Big guy.
He's got some height.
You kind of need more than one guy, but
they don't get running back.
In college, sometimes you can go to one guy.
We know that for sure. We've seen it. George Pickens, your boy.
Keep going back to the well.
George Pickens, air it every time. Justin Ross and T. Higgins.
Higgins. Just
give it a T every play. Kendra Miller, TCU's running back, will be out, it looks like, with that injury he suffered in that game versus Michigan. So
the other guy came in and did fine, though.
Yeah, he was pretty solid. The backup running back, he was solid. But it looks like he'll be out, though.
Duggan's kind of a tank. He's like Tim Tebow.
Duggan actually makes plays on the ground. He had 2 rushing touchdowns in that game versus Michigan, which was huge. 2 rushing touchdowns on 57 rushing yards on 15 attempts. So pretty impressive.
I think in the red zone, he's a threat to score. I got
Definitely
probably punch one in
for sure. And as for Georgia, though, their run game is pretty good too. Dejon Edwards is pretty solid, 8 for 58 he had on the ground.
Stable.
And then Kenny McIntosh, 5 for 70 in that game versus OSU. And OSU's D-line is pretty good. So going 5 for 70 versus OSU is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I like McIntosh, Milton, right? The other guy.
Yeah, Milton, Edwards. Those are their three backs there, yeah.
Yeah.
And then their defensive lineman, Jalen Carter, he's a stud. He's going to be a top pick. So
yeah, 88.
Yeah, he's a beast. He's a beast. So we'll see what happens. So what do you think is your prediction for tonight's game? Ringo's going to be a top pick, too. He's going to be a first-rounder probably. So he's a stud corner.
I mean, his first round is all over that.
Georgia. Oh, no, there were 5, last year? 5 first-rounders, I believe. More. And then this year's probably going to be 4 or 5 again?
Pick.
Yeah. This year will probably be, 4 or 5 first-rounders, I'd say?
Probably, yeah.
And they say, I was reading before that scouts are saying Jalen Carter is a better prospect than Trayvon Walker and the rest of the D-line that were drafted last year on that Georgia team.
I think so. Well, I think Nakobe Dean was the best player on their defense last year.
Oh, stud tackler. He's a beast.
And what's his name? Louis Seen?
Seen, the safety.
He was the end of
the safety from Everett High, Massachusetts. Yeah, from Everett High, from Massachusetts, which is unreal that he played for Georgia and won a natty. Then ends up being a first-round pick. Last pick of the first round, I believe, to the Minnesota Vikings. He was drafted to the Vikings for sure. I don't know if it was 31st or 32nd.
I think it was the last pick, yeah.
32nd, so pretty impressive, obviously, and that rounds out the first round with 5 first-rounders for them. So in this game tonight, what's your prediction for a score if you had to pick one? Is it going to be going over that 63 total? Because 63 is a lot, but I think if TCU could put up 51 on Michigan.
They played last week were high scoring.
Yeah, TCU put up 51 on Michigan, which is pretty impressive. Then obviously you look at that Georgia game, 42-41 Georgia, so that was 83 there combined. And then obviously the other game was 96. 96 and 83. 2 throwaways, though, for semifinals matchups, though. 2 throwaways.
Yeah, that's the best day, watching both the games.
Oh, it was unreal. It's like the beginning of the March Madness term. We always say the first weekend's the best.
Yeah, first weekend's the best.
First weekend's the best.
I don't know. I think everyone wants to pick the over. College does tend to have a lot of scoring. There's more broken plays, runaway, runs and stuff.
Hear this, though.
63. I don't know. I don't know if TCU can get over 30.
I don't know. I would have said they couldn't have against Michigan. I thought they were just going to get 30. I think I said my prediction was 35, 31 or something. I can't remember what it was. I had Michigan winning that game.
32-28 Georgia, something like that.
I think I had Michigan 38-31 or something. But 35-28 you said? Here's the thing.
That's what I'm thinking for this game.
69 total points there were in the second half between TCU and Michigan. 69 in that second half. 51-45 finish, obviously.
I think didn't they have a 40-point quarter or something?
Yeah, 44 points in the third quarter. Oh. 44 points in the third. There was no defense. I mean, there were some long touchdowns in that third quarter. Long touchdowns. And there were multiple drives. Let me just tell you the scoring drives. Michigan had a touchdown in 1 minute and 12 seconds for a drive. TCU had 6 plays for 75 yards in 2 minutes and 7 seconds. TCU, another touchdown, 3 plays for 7 yards because they got a pick off for pick 6. That was a 1 minute 33 seconds. There was a pick 6 there by D. Winters. And then McCarthy had 3 plays for 59 yards in 1 minute and 5 seconds. TCU, 3 plays for 78 yards at 58 seconds. And then Michigan, 3 plays for 65 yards at 46 seconds. And then also, I didn't mention the field goal Michigan had, 4-minute drive, though, 7 plays, 63 yards. That was the first score in the second half. But that's multiple drives there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 scores in drives less than 2 minutes.
Well, they're all you said, they were all 2 and 3 plays.
2, 3 plays, and then there's a pick 6 added in there.
That's one set of downs, really.
The pick 6, too, doesn't, technically I said it's a minute 33. That's what the drive was, but the pick 6 itself is probably, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. So, pretty impressive, though, they could score that quick. As for Georgia,
I'd love to see the over. I don't know if it will actually happen. Sometimes you see teams score 50 points. The next week they come back, and they're not humming as much. You
were right about Georgia, though, in that game, because Georgia, I was saying to you Ohio State, which I thought Ohio State would be in the game. I was right about that. I told you Ohio State would be in the game. But you did say before it, I think we were talking about Georgia, Ohio State, and I was saying I had Ohio State winning, and you said something about Georgia and being clutch, and they scored 18 points in that fourth quarter, and they only gave 3 points in that fourth. So you were right about that. They do have a clutch factor, even though they don't really have to have it in many games because they're up by 40 in most games. But that game they had it, and they scored 18.
They have a little clutch factor. And I also think Ohio State tends to fade towards the end of the games like they did against Michigan.
They faded, but also Georgia's defense was just so good in that fourth. They got the ball back and just kept scoring. I mean, 3 scores in that fourth quarter.
That was a tired defense.
2
They were on the field almost all the game.
Yeah, you're right. And they got a 2-point conversion. Factor that into. I mean, they had an impressive fourth quarter there for Georgia.
Yeah, they pulled up the 2-point conversion, and there was a lot of heat on Bennett.
There was, yeah. You're right.
Like 3 guys in his face. It was a good throw.
It was great. 42-41 final there. That was 83 points there. And they had 5
a couple missed kicks, too. A couple missed field goals by the Georgia kicker and a miss.
Didn't Ohio State miss one, too, I believe, right?
They did at the end of the game to lose it.
2 for 4, and then Ohio State's kick was 2 for 3. So it comes up for a kick.
I guess then the over sounds promising, but I think TCU's defense was actually pretty stout. So if you're looking at the 2 hot defenses...
Yeah. I'd agree with you there. I mean, they started the game with a pick 6 on defense, which is nuts. As I said, Bud Clark, huge pick 6 for that.
Well, that's what gave them
TCU
the believability to stay in the game. That's like the Patriots pick 6ing Kurt Warner
to start the game
back in 2001.
Yeah, no, you start off the game with a statement if you get a pick 6, especially a touchdown. I mean, any touchdown to start a game is huge, but a pick 6 is just momentum that changes when you get a pick 6. But that TCU defense isn't anything to gawk at. I mean, they have some good players over there. D. Winters, Bud Clark, both of them made some big plays in that game for TCU. But also, you look at Georgia's team; it's all first-round picks. A lot of 4 or 5 guys.
And just the depth. The second guy coming in is still.
Yeah, and they have a lockdown corner in Ringo, so I mean, he could take away, one of your best receivers too. I mean, that's another you got to factor in.
Yeah, he's kind of a high-risk player though. He lets up a lot of touches.
He gives you a lot of cushion. He gives cushion, but.
Yeah, but he makes some plays, picks.
He does. No, he's a great player.
Big tackles. I think he forced a fumble on Marvin Harrison Jr., but it went out of bounds.
It did. Marvin Harrison Jr. had a pretty good game in that game. No, you know.
And then he got knocked out by the other guy, 22.
Yeah, he got hit pretty hard.
DB.
He was 5 for 106 and 2 touchdowns though, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, impressive. Well, that's what I mean. One guy, one good receiver can kind of take over a game.
Yeah,
in college, for sure.
You're right. So we'll see how it goes, obviously. But if I had to give a prediction, I'm going to go with Georgia getting the win here. 41-33. That's my prediction. That's my final right there. 41-33. A little bit odd, I guess, going with the odd score there with 33 for TCU, but we'll obviously see how that goes. But I think they go over that. So my prediction, I said 41-33. You have Georgia winning a lower scoring one, right? Was it 35-28?
Yeah, 35-28.
So a little bit lower scoring.
I hope it's 50 to 51, but
yeah, I think that honestly make for a good game. Those are the fun games to watch. I think that college football playoff semifinal, though, both of those were just thrilling games to watch. That was one of the best college football games.
Every year, yeah. I don't think it disappoints, so that's why we got to have a bigger playoff.
That semifinal, though, was probably the best semifinal champion, for the championship to see who goes to the championship ever.
If you're looking at it right now, we got Matt Stafford walking out with the team captains.
There we go. Georgia. Ready to go. So you're going to take Georgia to win that, I'm sure. But
LaDainian Tomlinson's with TCU.
All right, TCU might win.
Sick for the coin toss.
TCU might be there.
TCU might be money right now.
TCU has some players, though. D. Winters, that's one guy to watch out for.
You wanted to talk players of the game?
Yes, so players of the game. This isn't always how it correlates. It's not always whatever quarterback has a better game wins, because obviously it could have been in the running game, situations, obviously, whether your offensive line has a bad game, your defense isn't great. That always factors in. Which quarterback do you think has a better game? Are you going with Stetson Bennett for Georgia? Are you going with, obviously, Max Duggan and TCU, because I know you like Duggan.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Duggan. I think Duggan's going up against a tougher opponent, and I think he's got to do a little bit more. Bennett's got more help.
He's got the running backs too, and obviously with
some
Kendrick Miller being out, that's a tough loss there for TCU.
Good tight ends, Bowers, the other guy.
Yeah, Bowers is a beast. I didn't mention him. Bowers gonna be a first-round pick too. That's another first.
Yeah. Hopefully for the pass.
You could use him. Good blocker too. But that's the thing. I'd probably say I'm going to go with Stetson Bennett having the better game. He lit it up last year in the college football playoff finals. Obviously, I didn't think they were going to win that game, and he impressed me in that game. And ever since then, I never doubted him, even though I still thought I did say Ohio State would be in that game. That wasn't really doubting him, though. I just thought Ohio State was a good team. So we'll see. But here's the thing with TCU, being underdogs all year and then being 5-7 last year and getting Sonny Dykes as the head coach and then obviously Heisman candidate and Max Duggan, anything can happen in this game. So
yeah,
I guess it'll be a fun one to watch. I wouldn't be surprised if Duggan has the better game.
Mm-hmm. I also will say a lot of times the lower seed that you don't expect to win it does win. I think Ohio State won the first year as a 4 seed.
Yeah, they were a 4. They snuck in. Yeah, and got
it's probably better for the college football playoff if TCU wins because the expansion makes more sense. It's like how many other teams could have gone on a run like TCU just did.
You're right. No, that makes a difference. I mean, this would actually be the first time if Georgia were to win, though, this would be the first time any team's gone back-to-back. So there's two stories here.
That's great.
The greatest long shot ever to win the college football playoff final in TCU being 201 before the season started, not even having one vote in the AP top 25 before the season started, and then also Georgia winning back-to-back. There's two great stories either way. But like you said, I think it would obviously make for a great game if it were to be highest scoring, like a 51-50. I just don't know if that's going to happen. I think it's going to be high scoring at 41-33, but both getting in the 50s might be tough since Georgia's defense is so good.
Both defenses are pretty good, and I think Georgia's defense is too good to let up 50.
There's overall so much talent on that team. The most they gave up in a single game this year was 27 points or 30 points. Before last week was 30 points to LSU.
Last week, obviously.
30 points to LSU in the regular season. That was actually the SEC championship. But that's the most they gave up before the college football playoff. And then obviously last week giving up 41 was the most they gave up in a single game this season. But before that, 22 points twice to Kent State and Missouri. That was the most they'd given up before playing LSU and Ohio State. So they don't give up 50 ever. So that'd be nuts if they were to give 50. But I guess you never know.
I think that point differential for the year was like 200 or something.
Oh,
they
something
only
nuts.
played 12 games.
They're 14-0. 14-0. And just blowing teams out. But I do like Max Duggan have a good game, though. I do like their story, and I'd root for them either way. Root for them either way. But I know you're a Georgia fan, so got to hope Georgia gets a win at the end of the day. But anything else you want to add in?
That's it. Good. Hopefully it's a good game. Good teams to root for, both of them.
Hopefully one that we'll remember forever. Hopefully it's a high-scoring game. Because those are obviously the best games, ones that go down to the wire. Like last year, went down to the wire.
Little teaser. We're looking forward to the Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow rematch in the AFC Championship game.
You're right. We'll be back for that. We got to do a NFL preview maybe later in the week, like Friday. Once we know which players are playing, whenever we know two is in a row, or Teddy Bridgewater's in a row, we'll do a preview and obviously give our predictions. For Super Wildcard Weekend. Should be fun. But anyways, Mike, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Always a pleasure having you on. The sports guru, Mike Hurley, the best in the business.
All right. Enjoy the game, Joe.
You as well. So there you have it, the sports guru, Mike Hurley, coming back to the podcast to talk about Georgia versus TCU. Obviously a great game tonight. TCU, the last time they won a national championship was 1938. Then you got Georgia. They won last year. This will be the first time ever in the college football playoff era, which started in 2014 for a team to win back-to-back titles. So having two straight titles is a great story, and then winning their first title since 1938 on the other side for TCU would be a great story as well. Obviously, you got the mailman Stetson Bennett playing versus Max Duggan, also another Heisman candidate this year. Both those guys were Heisman candidates respectively. Neither one ended up getting the win. Ended up being USC quarterback Caleb Williams. But should be a great game tonight. As I said, my prediction is 41-33. With Georgia winning their second title in a row. But either way, it'd be a great story. Just rooting for a good game at the end of the day. That's really all you want, especially considering how good the semifinals games were. You just hope the finals game is just like that. So we'll see how the game goes tonight. Obviously, hoping for a good game and a good battle. And one last thing I want to say before I close the episode is just let you guys know that this is my 100th episode of the podcast. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to this. No matter where you guys started listening, whether it was episode 1, episode 20, episode 35, episode 98, episode 100. Thank you guys so much. All the time that you guys have taken to listen to this and give me feedback. And also come on the episodes as a guest, whether you're coming on the radio or on the podcast. Thank you guys all for every step of the way. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to more episodes to come on the radio and on the podcast as well. So I'll keep you guys posted when I'm back on the radio at BC. I'm going back to BC in just a week, so I'll have my new schedule and everything set up then and hopefully have a consistent day every single week that I'll be live on air on the radio on WZBC AM Sports Radio. So thank you guys for taking the time to listen to this. And thank you guys for every step of the way in all 100 episodes. As I said, no matter if you started listening at episode 1, 2, 25, 40, 55, 80, 85, 100, thank you guys so much for everything along the way. It's much appreciated, and it means a lot to me. Thank you.